Congratulations on completing the quiz. You have landed in the people category. Now this is exciting, and it's exciting for a bunch of reasons. Number one, all of that infrastructure stuff is done. Number two, you've tested your offer, you know what's going to happen. So now the most exciting thing and the most important thing is to scale. And the best and fastest way to scale is with the greatest joint venture partners that you can find. So to be clear about this, your task right now is to connect with and to serve the highest level joint venture partners that you can reach. Now, my business partner and I, we have been blessed in the last 2 years to be supported by some of the largest and biggest name players in the joint venture industry. People like Ryan Levesque, Danny Inney, Justin Livingston, Lisa Sasevich, Alex Mandozian, Steve Oshler, Suzanne Evans, David Bayer, Kristen Thompson, Ted McGrath, Bill Barron, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Which is pretty interesting because 2 years ago, I was a virtual unknown in this space. None of those people knew me. None of those people were a part of our business model. None of those people did anything for us. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share with you the top 3 ways to develop relationships and to build the foundation to do great joint ventures with great people. Now, here's the thing. Number 1, and this is a big, big deal. Joint venturing is a game of I will go first. I'm just going to say that again. Joint venturing is a game of I will go first. This is the time to think of who are the top 3 JV partners that you could connect with. Who are the top 3 people that you would like to work with? And now is the time to think of a grand gesture, something that would be meaningful to them. Now let me be clear about this. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture, it just has to be a thought out and significant gesture. Because what you're trying to do is this, establish a relationship. Point out that you care. Make sure they know that you did some homework about what's important and significant to them. And for goodness sakes, do something of meaning to them. So let me give you just a couple of quick examples. Ryan Levesque, who best-selling author of Ask, New York Times best-selling author, big deal. He was speaking on my stage at Mastermind to Millions Live and shared a story. He is a Lego freak. He has 2 boys that are Lego freaks. And here's what somebody did to get on his radar. They custom made 3 little minifigures of him and his boys. Had them labeled and all sorts of things, shipped them off. Now, it's a small amount of money. It probably cost the guy a whole 30 bucks. And it landed directly on Ryan Levesque's heart and the most important thing that he does to connect with his kids. And it's like, here's somebody who gets me and I'm going to do something significant for them. Here's another example of a couple of things that I have done in the past. My dear friend Justin Livingston, brilliant guy, hockey fanatic. Now he lives in Vancouver, Canada. I live in Calgary, Canada. The irony is he's a Calgary Flames fan. Now my neighbor is a Calgary Flame, a couple of those things. Anyway, so I got access to some tickets for the finals in Calgary at the stadium, and I discovered that Justin had never actually seen a game in the Saddle Dome. So I got tickets to the finals. I invited him to come down. We hung out for the evening. Here's the picture of him at the Flames game. It's pretty good. So it was just meaningful to him. I just wanted to be clear about this. Here's a couple of other key things that we've done. Laurel Langmeyer. We were joint venture partners with Laurel Langmeyer for quite some time. Here's how that happened, is that she wanted to come to Calgary to ski out in Banff. And we had a conversation. It's like, hey, if I can put 100 people in a room, she can write it off. It pays for her trip, all of those pieces. So I tapped my community, put 100 people in the room, and poof, we ended up being in a long-term, like years-long joint venture partnership. And prior to that, we didn't really have anyone have each other on our radar. One last example would be this. In the middle of a launch, we once had an Apple Watch hand-delivered to Lisa Sasevich's home and said, hey, here it is. And it was one of those things which was just a little extra gesture to get on someone's radar, to get them to take an extra step, to begin to pay attention and to notice us. So here's the thing. Those are some examples of sort of grand gestures or well thought out and significant gestures. This is what you must do if you want to get on somebody's radar. Now, you don't have to do it in that manner. There are other options quite clearly. So for example, here's one of the simplest things in the universe. Number 1, buy their stuff. One of the greatest ways to begin to develop a relationship with someone is to become a student of theirs, is to become a star student of theirs, is to contribute so much value within the community of their clients that they have to notice you. By the way, a bunch of people that I've hired in the last 12 months were my star students. It's a brilliant way to get seen. In addition to that, And by the way, not just hired, I've done joint ventures with them in a variety of pieces. I want to be very clear about that. In addition to that, for goodness sakes, write about them, blog about them. Make posts on Twitter about them, make posts on Facebook about them, put an Instagram post out there. What you must understand is that most of these players have something called a Google alert for their name. And if you are writing about them, if you are supporting them, if you're taking a stand that is meaningful to something that they are working on, to something that they are creating, if you're taking a stand that supports that, you will be seen and noticed, and it begins the foundation of a relationship. Make sense? All right, the number 2 way to build great joint venture partnerships and relationships is this. Attend live events. Places where you can actually meet people, shake their hand, give them a hug, find out what they're really working on, see what's important to them, see if you actually like them, see if they have a sense of humor, okay? Attend live events. Because here's the reality. Everyone is sitting at home in their office going, wouldn't it be fantastic if we could get Anthony Robbins and Brendan Burchard and Jeff Walker to mail for us? Wouldn't that be great? Except here's the thing. That's not going to happen. You don't go from not knowing them all the way to them sharing their entire business with you. It doesn't happen that way. So here's what you got to do. Go to live events, connect with real people, and actually find out what's important to them and how you can serve and support them. That is where this game is won or lost. You must meet the people that you have access to. You've got to become a mover and shaker with that group of people before you have an opportunity to move up the so-called ladder. That's what has to happen first. So I want you just to be clear about this. If you really think it all the way through, which is this: where do you find people that, number 1, get the model of joint venturing, that number 2, have the abundance mindset to actually play in the joint venture space and are actually set up and ready to do it with the real tools? Well, you know what? There aren't a ton of places that do things like that, but one of them is our event, JVology Live, our event, the Joint Venture Summit. There's a whole variety of things that we do at JVology that can serve and support that process. But let's be clear about this. All you need to do is to go to live events, build real relationships, and start working with the people you have access to. This great block of, oh, I don't want to work here, I want to work here, is what keeps people out of the game. Just start climbing from where you're at, and it will change the game very quickly, so long as you're a good joint venture partner. All right, number 3. And number 3 is a bit of a combination of 1 and 2, but it deserves being stated and clarified independently and on its own. And it is this: create value, create value, create value, create value, create value. Because the truth of the matter is this: if I get one more unsolicited pitch on a Facebook Messenger of, hey, I've got a great joint venture partner or a great joint venture project, and all you have to do is mail, and I'm going to send you $12 and it's fantastic, and I don't even know the person. They have no idea if there's a list match. They have no idea about anything that I'm working on. It's inappropriate and ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So here's the thing. If you're going to create value, here's what it takes. Number 1, find out what somebody's working on. Find out how you can contribute to whatever that project is. How do you send them clients? How do you actually get them greater exposure? Who can you introduce them to? How can you share your network and your group of people in your tribe with them? How can you feature them? How can you make them look good? How can you position them to serve and support their mission better? And if you start thinking about it from the perspective of how are you going to create value for them, everything changes. Because as soon as you start creating value for them, you become relevant. When you're relevant, now you're a part of the conversation. When you're a part of the conversation, you have an opportunity to actually do something with them that is meaningful and significant. So I cannot emphasize this enough. Make sure, before you are asking for any sort of joint venture relationship, that you are relevant, significant, and creating value in their life, in their world. Okay, on that note, I want to recap the 3 key points to building powerful joint venture relationships. Point number 1 is this: joint venturing is a game of I'll go first. So be willing to put your butt on the line. Be willing to invest first. Be willing to do whatever is necessary to go first, and stake your claim that, hey, I'm in the game and I'm willing to support. That's number 1. Number 2 is this: start climbing from where you're at. Who are the people that you have access to now, and how can you become significant, meaningful, and relevant to them? Become the greatest joint venture partner that you can at the level that you're at, instead of waiting for and hoping for and praying for some big player to come down and save the day. It doesn't work that way. And the third part is this: be committed to creating value. How can you feature your joint venture partners? How can you make them look fantastic? How can you add value to their tribe? How can you become relevant, significant, and important to their business and life plans? So those are the 3 pieces in a nutshell, and it is exactly what JVology and JVologyLive.com stands for. All of the programs that we offer, you're welcome to check that out. Now, here's the thing. Now, if you're ready for your next step, if you're ready to really dive into the foundation of scaling your relationships and really working this whole people area, then I strongly recommend you click the button below and you purchase the Joint Venture Relationship Building Blueprint. Now, the Joint Venture Relationship Building Blueprint is a step-by-step guide that takes the first 3 pieces I shared with you with much more depth and detail and a whole bunch of other tools and resources that will get you moving and shaking towards building meaningful relationships that will add dollars to your bottom line and create greater value for your tribe and community and for your joint venture partners, tribes, and community. So click the button below. Here's what you'll learn. The top places to find potential joint venture partners who are looking for support, new relationships, and additional products and services to promote to their list. You'll also learn how to confidently approach your ideal joint venture partners, no matter what their stature is, in a way that has them remember you, want to engage with you, and ultimately want to support you and your promotions. And you'll learn how to get the big names in your industry to say yes to promoting you and your products, your services, your launches, so that you quickly and easily get a ton of traffic to your business and to your offers. So all of that and more, so simply click the button below and purchase the Joint Venture Relationship Building Blueprint. You'll be thrilled that you did.